Mana is going to do something fun in that series as well. So you got that. Estrella is also a fun player. Like Eggs is like a out there play. Man, we got just a fun day of not fully standard StarCraft.
Yep. Let's get into this as we have in the bottom right hand side. Our blue Zerg that we're excited to see. This is MeomaikA.
But up here in the top left-hand side of the map, we still have a Terran player a lot of people are still very excited to see. The red Terran, our world champion, Oliveira. Whose name I still sometimes misspell.
You still misspell it? I guess that's
Dude,
fair enough.
It's like the VEI and VIE. Like that trips me up so often in his name. I like in my head I keep thinking I before E except after C, but there's no C, but I
That's
don't know,
actually
man.
such a fallacy, by the way.
China begins with C, like I don't know.
Yeah, the I before E except after C is such a fallacy, man. Like it's one of those things that's just like a terrible lesson.
Yeah. I actually I will tell you, I believed it for a really long time. And the thing that actually, it's one of the best things Reddit has done for my life. A Reddit comment corrected me, and I responded with because I had typed siege tank, but I misspelled that because I did I before E, except after siege tank. And someone corrected me there, and I'm like, if there was a way to be corrected, I think that was like the best way.
Yeah, that's actually kind of funny. Yeah, I'm kind of sorry about it because I think one time I said it with absolute confidence. They were like, here's 10 examples where it's not true, and I was just like, oh, okay. My entire life's been a lie. Free school teacher sucks, like,
Damn you, Miss Calhoun. What have you done to my life?
You've ruined me.
We do actually have finished up spawning pool, by the way, with some lings heading across the map. This is going to be a opening with the gas actually being taken, though. So I do want to quickly note that this is going to be just the 4 lings for now, but the follow-up is going to be the more interesting part after these lings try and find a little bit of extra damage early on. Ooh, finding a Marine.
Yeah. Oliveira manages to save it as now the SCV gets saved as well. Somehow this goes so well for Oliveira. Like, he should have probably lost a Marine, maybe an SCV, and he didn't lose either. He's going to hit some of the Overlord a little bit. I mean, the Lings come back around, but 2 more Marines already, so you're kind of getting to the point where this is going to be dead Zerglings and a dead Overlord. Like, this is actually turning into a real mess for MeomaikA. He doesn't get the SCV.
That's not fair.
Delays the command center, but a delay ain't good enough, surely, when you're losing that many Lings and the Overlord, and you went pool first.
Dude, I feel like I just watched, there's like the really famous Street Fighter clip from ages ago of Justin Wong versus Daigo. And it's Daigo just perfect parrying the Chun-Li's super or ultimate attack. I feel like that's what we just watched. It's just like, that's not fair. You're not allowed to do that. No one's supposed to be able to do that this consistently. Like, what the heck? Oliveira didn't lose anything. And now MeomaikA's sitting there on a 2-base layer not having gotten anything done with his early game opening.
Yep, absolutely nothing, and you move into a lair as well, which you generally want to take a bit of an edge moving into, so you can maybe catch your opponent off guard. I kind of like Oliveira's opening, against MeomaikA, and I feel like, I'm just going to say this kind of broadly, but obviously we've seen a lot less reacted Hellion openings from Terrans lately. I feel like that's almost a direct nerf to how players like MeomaikA like to play, because they like to play fast lairs and fast aggression and stuff, and a lot of the time, those fast kind of builds really rely on the idea of, like, Hellions are only really good against Lings, so if you do other things, maybe you can do well. So it's always interesting to me how MeomaikA then will evolve and do things differently, and you can see it right now. Drop a Lord and Overlord speed, he's going to be Ling Queen aggressive, but the problem is if you don't build Hellions, you might not be good against other things, but I still think you're okay against Lings, and Marines on a Cyclone here should be fine with some SCVs to fight with them. I do not think this is going for how MeomaikA wanted to, plain and simple.
Yeah, also losing all those lings as early on when your plan is to go for the ling drop and to ideally probably flood additional lings at the natural behind it. You just lost so many of those lings, and now they're also going to be on the other side of the map while you're getting dropped in your natural, and you just have very little to actually deal with this.
Yeah, this is Oliveira going to put on a bit of a clinic, even microing back individual Marines on low HP, because you know what? He's the world champion, and he can micro. He's just going to make sure we all remember that.
Morty, when people say they're putting on a clinic, usually just means that, you're beating someone up. But I think he is doing a much more appropriate version of the word putting on a clinic because he's saving all of his units.
Yeah.
He's only lost one Marine.
This just does not look fun, right? The Queens are going to drop in the main. The only good thing here from Oliveira is he doesn't have vision right on the edge, but actually he's going to see the drop load anyway, so there's a siege tank here, man. The Cyclone's locked onto the Overlord. It's going to die. The Queens can't transfuse because there's no creep. I mean, the Lings will break in on the low ground, so that is something.
Okay.
Is that enough? SCVs could repair the siege tank if we need to. The Cyclone still provides decent damage. I honestly think this is just a complete shutdown. We can repair the tank. We do not repair the tank, which I think is a minor mistake, but honestly, it's okay. Oliveira is going to hold, and MeomaikA will not break through, not in game 1.
You know what frightens me about that game, Wardy? Imagine if that attack had happened and Oliveira had not gotten the absurdly good start he had gotten.
That's true.
Like, that actually, imagine that and like one extra thing goes well with that little run by. Like, let's say the Zerglings get in on top of the tank before the SCVs get a ton of surface area to block them off or to repair that tank initially. Because I know he stopped repairing at the end, but he was repairing it initially. Like, that's all actually MeomaikA needed for that game to look very different. So it's small. I say it's small things, but then you also look at how much just devastation there was in the first 3 minutes in our voices as we were watching MeomaikA just absolutely get shut down. And man, I don't know how to feel about that first game.
Yeah, it's funny though, because like sometimes it can work and it looks brilliant, and then that's always the thing with MeomaikA. When it works, it looks brilliant. When it doesn't work, you're like, what was it meant to do? It's like these queens dropped. They never had creep to transfuse. The Overlord never got to spread it, right? Like, you know, the Lings are going to burst through a wall. If Oliveira just has like 4 SCVs on the wall repairing, none of those Lings even get in the natural, right? Already, it's just a completely lost game. So it's always one of those kind of funny ones as we sit here and wait for game number 2 to get hosted up. Just to mention that these guys agreed to play all on Singapore. Not sure what the latency is. Obviously, MeomaikA from Vietnam, Oliveira from China. I think initially they were going to rotate Singapore, Korea or something, but I think they both agreed that just playing on Singapore is fine. Oliveira didn't mind. I think he will be disadvantaged, but it probably means it's like a very minor difference for him.
Yeah, totally understandable. What's your ping to Singapore, Wardy? What's your European ping to Singapore? I'm curious.
I will tell you when I get in game, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, you don't. Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, I can tell you in the
options,
lobby, but like, well, yeah, I can go in the options if you want, but sometimes that bugs as well. I feel like that bugs more than it doesn't.
Oh, it does? Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it says my ping to Singapore is 39. I can tell you right now, my ping to Singapore is not 39. That's better.
Oh my god! Did you move to Singapore?
That is better than my ping to Europe, and I know we Brexited and stuff, but like, I think that's a little extreme.
That's incredible. Maybe you should tag him. I think you might have better players than these, or sorry, better ping than these players. That's incredible.
No wonder the Oceanic players were complaining about playing risky on Singapore. UK ping is so good there. Who knew? All right, go goes the gold.
Apparently.
We're gonna kick this off. Yeah. I'll let you know when we get in game because now I'm kind of curious. I would guess it's probably like I would probably guess like 260, 270. So
yeah, that's kind of what I figured. Yeah. I will say, I do feel like the blessed location to be for just average good ping is West Coast America. That's been my belief because I get good connection to Europe. I have, I have okay-ish connection to Europe. I think it's like maybe 150 or something. I have good connection to Korea. I have good connection to all of like America and stuff. And even to Singapore, I think it's like 160 or something, 150 right now.
Yeah, you just have access anywhere.
Dude, I can actually just play anywhere. And you know what the best part is? It doesn't matter because I can't rush. The latency hardly matters. It's great.
Yeah.
Don't take advantage of it at all.
Yep.
Anyways, Golden Aura is going to be out number 2. Sorry, guys. We were waiting for the lobby to finally get going, and we finally do have game number 2 loaded on up with our world champion currently sitting up at 1-0.
My ping is still increasing, so I'll tell you after the intros is in the top left.
Just gradually increasing.
Gradually increasing. You just mentioned it. Up 1-0 in the top left. Our world champion is going to be Oliveira.
And over in the bottom right, we have our blue Zerg player. He is MeomaikA, representing Team Gosu.
All right, my ping to Singapore. Wow, it's actually like 400. Well, now it's going to 438. That's surely it's not 400. That's not normal.
Did it say like 320 before and you just dropped a digit or something?
Oh man, like it genuinely said 36. Now it's 450. Surely there's no way it's 450 when my ping to Korea is like 300, right? I don't know.
That is fascinating. Well, now I just want to see a Wardy ladder session on Singapore.
Internets are crazy, man. The internets are crazy.
It turns out it is pretty wild, much like MeomaikA's builds, as he is going to go for another early pool here.
That's true, yeah. But literally no one actually cares about my ping, so I'm going to forget about it. Apparently it's just still going up, man.
Yeah,
like, I'm fascinated by this. It's 500. Okay, well.
I know, sorry. I was very interested when we were trying to fill time, but I'm less interested now that MeomaikA's playing.
Yeah,
I gotta be real with you.
All right, well, let's see what this pool into gas, into hatch comes into. You actually went hatch, then gas, right? Either way, it's still that kind of rough order. And you're going to just see the Reaper on the way from Oliveira to start. And then an SCV getting ready to expand. So Oliveira not, being worried about putting the expansion low ground. I think, honestly, he knows coming into this, he's like, right, I'm not going to build Hellions. I'm just going to build Marines and a Cyclone every game. And I honestly think if you build Marines and a Cyclone, it's difficult to die to anything a Zerg does early. Like, what can a Zerg do to break through Marines? Like, obviously, there's worlds where you just don't have enough. And, then the Zerg still has too much and they overwhelm you. Your bunker isn't up in time or so. But I actually think it's so difficult for a Zerg to be aggressive. And in that scenario, I'm like, well, maybe try and get up to mutas because then the Terran can't harass you as much. But honestly, fast mutas can be shut down. And if they get shut down, like, it's a nightmare for you as well, right? Like, where's the good stuff? Where's the good stuff for you in that scenario? I really don't know.
Yeah, it's really, really tough. I think an important thing to mention about MeomaikA is it's very also, this is, again, why a lot of people say he's like the Zerg version of Haas. MeomaikA is a player who capitalizes on mistakes, but it's not just that he's capitalizing. He has to find ways to force mistakes out. So creating chaos, forcing your opponent into an awkward position where, in theory, as exactly you were saying, a player should be able to just get up a set of units and be able to deal with most of these pieces of aggression as long as they play it well. But you create enough chaos that they start making mistakes, that they start maybe thinking, all right, well, there's no way they'll take this risk or this gamble. And that's exactly what then MeomaikA does. And that's how he suddenly throws Oliveira off kilter or something. So little things like that can be really helpful, as the Reaper does actually get picked off by the Queens pretty early on. And these Lings get to poke around on the other side of the map. So we'll see what MeomaikA can kind of bust out of there, because I think that's a necessity for him in this.
Fast layer, obviously, with the Reaper going down, you do have basically this scenario where you don't get any further scouting for a little while, right? So he doesn't know about the third base. He doesn't really know what this is at all. He maybe saw the gas was still mining. That could obviously mean roaches or this faster layer. As we go up to 3 gas in total, this feels a lot like a Spire. As the medevac pops, we can potentially Cyclone drop across the map, which would be one way to try and keep an eye on what is happening while applying some pressure as well. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I'm so glad you also brought up the kind of lack of scouting information, because it really is difficult going up against a player like MeomaikA, because I am not joking. I've seen this guy take like 3-4 gas geysers and then not mine from any of them, go for a Ling flood. That is the kind of player MeomaikA is not afraid to be. So being in the dark is really scary against MeomaikA if you don't have an idea of what he's up to. Now, we do see a Spire on the way, kind of what you were talking about. And the Cyclones are doing a nice job clearing off Overlord, just shutting down a little bit of MeomaikA's vision out of the map. Actually, shutting down, frankly, all of it right now. But that also does mean it delays his movement across the map. He's going to take a little bit longer to actually get a scout out on what he's up against.
Yep, absolutely. As a couple of Cyclones will drop down again, and they are going to go straight into this Overlord. So the Overlord is going to get knocked down. Cyclones jump up to the high ground. A few Lings are going to go after them Cyclones. The Overlord number 2 is going to go down as well in a second. That's just a guarantee, I think, at this point. It should be able to target it. Okay, Oliveira, don't then. Prove me wrong. I think he could have had that if he wanted it. He just didn't want it enough, man.
I think he could still get it, because he gets the Queen, and now there's no anti-air, so you just drop on top of the Overlord? Yeah, let's go, Oliveira.
And a drone on top. And a drone on top. Why not?
That's actually brutal.
And the Scar Spire? No, not quite. But he sees the lair, he sees there's no roaches. Like, I feel like it's a fair assumption that Muta's up, a pretty good possibility here. Would love to see if he actually knew that. Is he going to scout now? I wonder if he immediately puts down an Engineering Bay and starts turrets. Because a turret per mineral line makes this a lot simpler. He's going to lose the medevac. I don't know how much I hate that. I don't know how much Cyclones are going to change things here.
Yeah, I don't think they were going to make a big difference. And I'm also curious. I would love to have picked Oliveira's brain apart and see a world where he didn't actually scout the Spires. He is going to be actually losing a couple of these Hellions to the Lings that get not too bad of an initial engagement there, but at the end of the day, is still going to be able to clean those up or push those back for now.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing that Mutas starting to come across the map. MeomaikA, only 35 drones, right? So this is where, as he just lost a more, Banshee is actually going to go down. But this is where you really need to do something. His army supply is good. Oliveira only has 14 army supply. SCVs repairing that depot are so important right now. This depot, that upcoming bunker, like, these things are so important. These Marines need to step back. They need to get into as best a choke point as they possibly can. As this could be very dangerous, but I think the defense is probably just about going to hold out. It's crazy how little you can hold with sometimes with a couple of defensive structures and, a defensive setup.
Yeah, great positioning there. The supply depot just held out for a little bit too long, and if those Lings had been able to get in a lot faster because the repair was even just a little bit late, things could have definitely turned out a bit differently there. But nice, solid defense there from Oliveira, and MeomaikA, cleaning up the Banshees, cleaning up a lot of the harassment and stuff has been good. I feel like if he's still able to find some damage here, maybe, just maybe, he has like one more big surprise left in him. But I feel like as the game stands right now, if he doesn't get that kind of big W on the board somewhere in this game, I just don't know how he's going to be able to handle Oliveira's economy and his situation right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, the longer this game goes, the better Oliveira is. You already saw he was like 14 to 45 army supply. Now it's 37 to 30. Workers even, Terran has triple orbitals, so they have a lot of mules once that third moves into position. He scans the third of MeomaikA, which just gives him a bit of info as to how many drones his opponent is working with. He's like, okay, so you have a decent amount. But actually, what's funny is that MeomaikA is not fully saturated in the main, so Oliveira might even think MeomaikA has more economy than he, actually does with that scan. I guess what's important is he sees at least some drones on the third, so he knows this is not completely like two base all in, and he should play it in a more kind of macro sense because of that.
Yeah, doubling down a bit more on the Mutas. We have 5 more Mutas being added on alongside the +1 flyer attack also finishing on up. Now those 5 Mutas popping out back at home might actually be quite useful because, well, dealing with his Banshee is going to be a little bit easier with the Mutas already here on the defensive, while his other Mutas are actually on the offensive. Nice actually control there from MeomaikA. I just want to point that out. Controlling 2 flocks of Mutas, harder than it looks.
Yep, as the medevac is going to go diving back into the main base here. A couple of auto mines will get unloaded. Things are going to come around. Actually going to shut this down completely. Good catch from MeomaikA. Will kill the medevac too. I mean, this is great if he would just stop and drone. And I only say this because I know fine well he doesn't like to drone from this point. Like, he loves to just sit at 50 workers, and for me, that's forever an issue. Like, to me, this is a habit he has. It's something that he clearly likes, which is, it's fine if that's how you like to play, but it's hard for me to get behind it because I always just see him doing this, and then he just can never trade well enough to justify the lower economy he's playing off of.
Yeah, I want everyone in the audience to remember right now that while this in some way, like in a lot of games, you may look at this and think, Zerg's not doing so hot, but maybe they can make something happen. There are no Banelings of this army. There's no Baneling nest. There is no Baneling on the future horizons. There's no way MeomaikA can win a direct fight with this army.
Nope. I mean, that's what it's starting to come down to, right? As long as Oliveira doesn't get too split up, as long as he keeps everything together, in theory, there should be no good fight you can take as MeomaikA. And again, you say these things, I'm always a little scared to say as the caster, because I'm like, well, I've seen MeomaikA win crazy situations before, right? But, like, that really shouldn't be. With, like, pure Ling Muta, if the Terran stays clumped together, there should just be no way to fight it, especially if the Terran's already up 1-1 to 0-0, and that's improving to 2-2 over 0-0 in the next couple minutes, unless MeomaikA suddenly, warps some evolution chambers into play, and, maybe a Baneling Nest and Baneling Speed while we're at it,
Yeah. Now, I'm with you, and I think there is a world where maybe MeomaikA takes some really surprisingly good trades, but I think the key bit is that he can't win a direct fight. And that is, I think, the key aspect of what MeomaikA wants to do here, is he's using all of his gas that he would have spent on banelings on mutas. He's flooding out a lot of lings with the extra minerals, and I think trying to take more hatcheries as he can to try and get additional larvae out. But he then needs to force very indirect fights. He needs to force weird trades, find Oliveira as he's trying to move out with a big flock of mutas, try and punish while also returning back home to defend. It's a very, very difficult style to make work. And that's when the game is even. And this is not an even game right now. Oliveira does still have kind of control of the wheel at the moment.
Yep. No, he definitely has. He's in complete control, if you ask me. I really think there's nothing about this which looks good for MeomaikA. Like, you know, like he's gone to 4 bases. Here we go. He's going to take the fight. These Marines are going to stand and fight. The extra Marine showing up. Missile turret is putting some damage in. MeomaikA's supply just caused a drop, and honestly, so many of these mutas are so low. I was about to say, a bit of splash is going to be the end of them, and Widowmine actually got there before the Thors did. Middleisk smelt, and Oliveira gets himself into a 2-0 lead in this best of 5. Honestly, kind of exactly the series I was expecting. Wild, crazy from MeomaikA.
Yeah.
But Oliveira playing it safe, and just being comfortable against these setups because he kind of roughly knows what's going to be happening.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate thing in some ways when a player like MeomaikA starts to rise up. MeomaikA has absolutely broken out onto the global scene at this point. Everyone, or most people, I would say, at least all the players, know who MeomaikA is. They've heard the legends of MeomaikA, this absolutely wild player. And Oliveira, also just coming from this region, already knows a lot about MeomaikA. And the more success you find, the more people just kind of get a better sense of not only what you like to do, but also what to do to just deal with you as a player. They play more games against you. They start to learn, well, yeah, you do not like to drone after this certain point. Like you were saying, Wardy, I can just play a lot more defensive and safe and make less risky maneuvers because I know at this point in the game, I'm just going to start getting further ahead because you basically are hard committing to trying to end the game or doing some big damage earlier on. And it makes it a lot more difficult for a player like MeomaikA, who I think did find success sometimes off of being a bit of an unknown quantity. The longer he's out there, the harder it is, the harder it becomes for him.
Yeah, well, and yeah, we had players like Bly who was still able to be successful for so long and still find some success in this event as well, right? Where
yeah,
I think it's just a case of, especially ZVT right now is tough because a lot of the power is like, hey, if you're forced to open Marines and Cyclones, like you kind of get into that position as a Terran where it's like you're not comfortable. But actually the meta right now is to do those sort of things, right? And to actually not be building Hellions. So in that case, you're just more naturally comfortable again, you know, with the units that should shut MeomaikA down and put you into better positions. So it genuinely is tough, man. Like it's genuinely a little bit rough. You know how you work with that and everything. So yeah, it's it feels difficult. It honestly feels as though it's like almost like, hey, maybe it's proxy hatch time where you get the Ravagers, we just go for that one, but something that relies on your opponent like having to micro correctly, you know, from the start rather than just being set up with a set of units because, you know, maybe then you can catch a little bit of a lead or an advantage or so.
That's an interesting thought, and I have 2 questions for you. One is, do you feel like you've seen a lot of success from just in general, I mean, proxy hatch, but even just Ravager openings in general, if your opponent, or if the Terran player, I should say, not the opponent, but if the Terran player is going for those early Cyclones? And I guess also my second question for you, which is almost a more rhetorical question, do you feel like Oliveira's early game micro has not been on point? Because I feel like it's been probably the most on point part of this entire series so far.
I mean, I don't necessarily think it's, you know, forced him to micro is going to be great for MeomaikA. I just, you know, the other kind of wild things just aren't working, right? Like, that's kind of the issue, so.
It's true.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's tough. Like, you're the underdog, but doing crazy things is not working. Maybe something where you open more standard, and then you like, bam, Nidus network. Or maybe just like, I don't know, but it just feels as though being as weird as MeomaikA is being right now is not doing him any favors at all.
Yeah, I think you're onto something, and I think that's where probably my preference is, where it's you do something weird, but it's something that's weird later on, and then maybe you get to capitalize on some of the lower risk plays your opponent's making at the sacrifice of, you know, some greedier the changes they could make.
On the top left-hand side here for map number 3, it is going to be our blue Zerg player. This is MeomaikA.
And down in the bottom right-hand side of the map, sitting up 2-0, he is your world champion, the Red Terran player, Oliveira.
So fun calling him world champion. I don't think I ever
really
called like
is.
Serral world champion as much as I called Oliveira world champion or anything. Just like something a bit special about this one. That, or I guess we get to casting quite a lot as well, helps. So
yeah. I mean, that's the advantage of doing so many of these Asia regional games, and also WTL. I'm sure also fun.
Yeah,
time
he
where you
just
get to do that
plays a lot
more.
of online stuff, right? Like he plays the weekly Open Cups as well. Like it's almost like I think where world champions of the past have been a bit more like, you know, exclusive in terms of what they play in. You know,
He's not a coward like Serral, says Wardy 2023.
But yeah, you know, like, you know, he's not like backing down and not playing at all like Rain or he's washed and all of this, you know, like he's actually out there grinding every day. He took a couple weeks break and he was right back in it every time. And yeah, I don't know what it is. I guess obviously the scene's changed a lot. Everyone's playing a lot of these online cups now, but yeah, I mean, I think I'm back and think who was a world champion recently. I mean, you know, I guess, yeah, I guess really, like you go from Serral to Dark to Raynor, and then we had, he was a world champion in 2021.
Ooh, Korean. Shoot, who was it? I'm blanking now. Dude, the last 3 years have been so wild. I feel like it's sometimes I feel like 2020 Katowice, where Raynor won.
Oh no, 2020 was
like
2020
like
was
8 months ago.
Sorry, 2020 was Rogue, and then Serral was 2021 again. Oh, Raynor was 2021, then Serral was 2022.
No, Raynor was 2021. You're right, because that was when we did online.
And then Serral 2022
was the year. Was the year everyone locked down while you guys were at Katowice.
And that was Rogue, right? Because he beat Dust in the finals.
Yeah.
Disappointing series.
Ugh.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you list that name of players, these are not players like playing everything. Like towards the end, Rogue started playing everything, but like nowadays, like, you know, a lot more players are playing everything. So it's really the first time we've had someone, a world champion in a lot of years, who's just been out here playing in pretty much every cup. You know, a couple times a week we see him playing games. These games are just so accessible. That's just not happened in a long time in StarCraft.
No, I totally agree. And, you know, I feel like a good finishing note there is to say that, Wardy, I think you're entitled to the opinion that Serral doesn't work hard and he doesn't really grind the way that Oliveira does. And, you know, I look forward to seeing your inbox message from Slowly Falling on Discord later on. But with that being said, as the final note on that conversation, there was a 2 racks opening on the low ground from Oliveira. Did some really nice micro actually with the Reapers to try and split them up in 2 different directions as he's miking against the Lings. But yeah, MeomaikA actually did a really good job keeping all of his drones alive there.
Yeah, no, we might miss some of that on the stream because I was Googling who won Katowice, and then halfway through my Google I remembered, but a couple drones go down. This is actually nasty, especially because it's a 4 racks follow-up, so you're going to be so aggressive on the follow-up here. 5 drones! And the problem is, if you're going to mass up drones to kind of rebuild off of this, you're not going to have the units you want when it comes to this massive 4 racks marine attacks. This really is kind of awful for you as the Zerg player. This puts you into such a rough position to start off with. So, yeah, this is tough, man.
Yeah, I really do want to say MeomaikA was doing an excellent job at the very, very beginning, controlling against the Reaper harass and everything. But yeah, a little bit later on, we see how poorly that went. And MeomaikA in a tough spot. Infestation Pit at 420. 40. Let's go.
And a dropper lord as well.
And a dropper lord. You know what? This is truly the perfect way for a MeomaikA game 3 to go when he's down 0-2. I wouldn't expect anything less from MeomaikA.
No, I mean, to be fair, there's a little drop of Lings up into the high ground. I kind of like it. It's not full committal, but it's cool enough to maybe get a bit of damage done. My overwhelming issue is that he probably dies if these Marines just move across the map. Yeah. You know, like...
You know, in a world where it was pre-fungal growth nerf, imagine the damage for that. Oliveira not having any idea there was a 420 infestation pit drop down with infestors, and he gets all fungal after Oliveira stims. Like, there's that world. I just don't know what it looks like in this world.
There's a world where these infestors still catch him off guard, and a couple fungals do lock him down, and maybe do just shut down this attack, but they really need to. Like these fungals actually need to be magnificent, because quite frankly, there's not the lings to deal with this. So the fungals have to be great. Oliveira is gonna get hit by the fungal. Now he's gonna start splitting up. He can't really afford to stim.
And he's out of units. Okay.
Wow, that's actually exciting, though. I mean,
yeah,
we hold.
No. I'm totally with you. Like he actually does hold in the sense that, yeah, you're right. The Marines can't really stim anymore. So many of them are weakened. Was that a solid enough trade? I'm actually really not sure. I don't say this as a rhetorical, I actually have a opinion on this. I really just don't know, because he lost a lot of lings there, but he also just completely kills the push.
Yeah, I think the problem is it's 4 racks to begin with, so you just rebuild so quickly. It's like, if you shut this down convincingly, and you have a great drone count, and you can rebuild units, you're great. But again, MeomaikA's drone count is never good enough. And like, again, I say this with all the love in my heart, because I know this is just how he likes playing, but if he was on like 60 workers now, I'd feel great for him. Because he's on 48, I'm just like, man, how are you ever going to deal with the next round of Marines? You know, he's building some Hydras as well, which is interesting. And I tell you what, this game, he's also chose to creep spread. Last game, he was just like, nah, creep spread doesn't exist. This game, he is going to creep, which means that I think he wants to get the Hydras across the map fairly quickly. And he must really want to, because for MeomaikA to creep spread, it really is not an everyday occurrence.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he's going to get the opportunity. The double Marine drop into the main base is going to be pretty brutal. There is enough energy for some fungal growths. Oh, one fungal growth whiffs, actually. Could have caught the medevacs and maybe given the Hydras an opportunity to snipe those off. That actually would have been pretty big, to snipe off 16 extra Marines and 2 medevacs here as he was getting ready to go for this big attack. But as it stands, the medevacs survive. There's 2 more medevacs on the right-hand side of the map that might even just delay MeomaikA even longer from moving across the map. Can he even make the attack happen?
That's a it's a good question. I mean, honestly, look at the production tab. That tells me everything I need to know. That Oliveira is getting so much. Yeah. And MeomaikA's like, okay, I'm finally going to see myself into some Evo chambers. And he gets a few more drones. I just think Oliveira is at this stage right now where he just keeps on massing up units. And he really should just be kind of golden forever at this point, in my eyes.
Yeah, and I do feel like infestors, while they can be like in the early stage that we were talking about, where it was just the Marines, there's no medevacs, there is this really weird, scary power behind those infestors, as we kind of saw. Even with the Marines still trading decently well versus the Zerglings themselves, those infestors still actually did quite a bit. But as this game goes on, those 2 infestors, I'm with you. The production capabilities of Oliveira just gradually make them a little bit less and less relevant as every minute passes.
Yeah, I mean, Infestors can still be great supporting units, but it feels like they've probably had the best fungals they're going to have already, and that doesn't mean they can't have an influence later on. It's just, it's going to be tough for them to have as much of an influence as they've already had, and then it comes down to, like, if they're more supporting units now, what else are they supporting? And that's where the issue stands, really, right? The problem is the fact that with another fungal, the problem is that it's Ling Hydra, again, we do not see a Baneling Nest, and in theory, the more Oliveira builds, as the medevac does go down to the Hydras, the more Oliveira builds, the better it is for him, and naturally, you're just going to keep building things as a Terran player, right? So, I just don't see where the power point is, or the moments, or the timing for MeomaikA. I mean, he gets Hive, he's going to go to Ultra Cavern, but I just don't see how he ever gets a good enough amount of Ultras out to matter.
Yeah. It's going to be tough. He needs that PowerPoint, and, well, right now he's still just working off Microsoft Excel, trying to crunch the numbers, but I don't think that Oliveira is going to allow him any additional time to crunch those numbers. He is going for broke up here on the top right-hand side in Infestors. They got some energy, but even a couple of those whip fungals from earlier means they have a bit less.
That's the second time someone's made an Excel joke after I've used the phrase PowerPoint in this last 2 weeks.
It's not a frequent word to use. I'm sorry.
I don't know why. Like, it's just in my head right now. Like, this is a phrase I use, like PowerPoint. Yeah, I get it.
You're with me. What did you expect?
I really, You know, I wouldn't have even mentioned it. I thought it was genuinely a good joke. It's just funny that I think Loco said it last week or something. Oh, I think it was Cats, actually, as Marines come up, they kill the Evo chamber off. And obviously this push now is something that you have to deal with as MeomaikA. You've got to deal with this. it's rough, man. 4 ultras on the way, but they will pop pre-chitinous plating, so even immediately when they pop, they're not going to be the best they can be. The good news is there's no marauders, but then you also just don't have great upgrades. It's not like you're on plus, there's going to be +2 attack versus +1 armor. And then there's Liberators to help against the Ultras too. These are all, again, problems. There's a triple medevac drop, heads to the top left. That's where Oliveira will reinforce to. And that's going to be starting to pull MeomaikA apart even further right now.
Very, very rough spots. Do you wait for chitinous plating to engage? I don't know if you'll actually get the opportunity, especially with the triple medevac drop you were talking about. No, it looks like you just have to go for it into the Liberators and everything. And those Liberators, yep, they're going to start whittling away at some of those Ultras. It looks like it is a cleanup on this right-hand side, but it's because 3 medevacs worth of units on the main base means, well, just very little is actually going to be able to survive over here. The Hive is going to go down. The Marines can just pick up and, well, there actually are still a couple of Hydras that make their way over here. Just not enough to actually clean those up, and Oliveira just sells more units.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? That's why Oliveira is set up to rebuild, and MeomaikA is not, and it's okay. MeomaikA won 1 fight, and he can probably fight again. It's going to be ending the game is very difficult against the Terran. Still may have some chance. A lot of the units of Oliveira are across the map. He doesn't have a great answer to Ultras necessarily. He's going to have to really rely on the Liberator, although I'm not sure there's any anti-air to knock it down right now, but maybe we actually just break into the natural, and then maybe there is a bit of hope. An Ultra defending at the same time as well. This game's going to have a little bit of chaos at the very least in the last few moments. The Liberator shows up. We did deal with the Ultra on the low ground. This Liberator could probably get involved as well, and Fungal on some SCVs just in case the Ultra wasn't going to be enough.
Let's go. I mean, he's killing a lot, and he's on top of production. 1 Ultra is very, very close to dying, but it somehow is staying alive. And,
oh, not bad.
Weirdly enough, this is not this is not the supply difference that I was expecting a minute or 2 after that attack. MeomaikA still is mining off those 2 bases on the north side, and he is eventually cleaned up over here. Is there any world you can recover this, Wardy? Is there any world?
No. There's not.
No.
The Ultras are kind of the chance, but the fact that, Oliveira already had a Liberator or 2, and he was then deciding to build more, that's actually just all the answer you need. It's like, you can see he hasn't even really built any Marauders. And it's because he doesn't actually have to, because the Ultras are not that much of a threat as long as he has the Libs coming out. So he recognizes this, and then now as things stabilize, obviously we can see that this is not going to be a friendly game for MeomaikA. Down 20 workers, down a heck of a lot of army supply. He is going to even out in upgrades at least, so there's something there, but, we're now talking about 1 Ultra, and every Ultra you build at this point is expensive and probably, quite frankly, just a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 base Ultra right now, so it's not an ideal spot. I'm with you. Oliveira keeping all of those bases alive is definitely going to be paying off, because even if you lose all of those SCVs earlier on, not only has he had 4 workers producing this whole time, so he's already back up to 55, but even just the mules from all 4 of those bases can really be putting in some serious work. +3 weapons finishing up here for Oliveira as well. He is so close to that 3-0 he was looking for versus MeomaikA.
MeomaikA only has a Hydrogen as well, so, it's like, if he builds an Ultra, it's a mistake. He actually couldn't even get close to building an Ultra, as GG will be called.